The villa of the football club owner Roman Abramovich in the classical style, which is said to have a value of around 125 million euros, looks impressive from the outside in bright sunshine. And the property in Kensington Palace Gardens, which is an exclusive street in central London where many embassies are also based, is apparently not uninhabited either. A food deliverer in an orange outfit and with a warm box of the same color on his back brought lunch to the magnificent building these days. A man in a black kilted jacket took it, and that was reported by German reporters from there. What seems like a harmless scene is quite explosive because it could mean that the house is possibly still inhabited or at least guarded. And that despite the fact that the British government has now put the 55-year-old on the sanctions list because of his closeness to Russia's President Vladimir Putin, who is currently waging a war of aggression against Ukraine. This means his assets in Britain are to be confiscated, he is banned from entering the country, and, moreover, individuals and companies on the island are no longer allowed to do business with him. In other words, no one is allowed to do any paid cleaning, plumbing, or housekeeping. The same has been true for 6 other Russians since last Thursday, including the entrepreneur Oleg Deripaska, who was once described as Russia's richest Russian, and Igor Sechin, CEO of the Russian energy company Rosneft. Russian oligarchs in the UK and across the EU are becoming increasingly nervous about the measures now announced. In the past few days, some have tried to get their giant yachts to safety so that they are not confiscated. Among them is Abramovich, whose ships have been at the sea since the sanctions were announced. Most recently, Abramovich's mega yacht was spotted off the coast of Montenegro. And even among rich Russians in London who actually distance themselves from Putin, nervousness is spreading. Many are now considering selling their properties before it's too late. Despite this, the measures do not go far enough for many activists, as emphasized by members of the Kensington Against Dirty Money campaign. They demand that Abramovich's property be opened to the public more quickly so that Ukrainian refugees can temporarily live there. To raise awareness of this and other concerns, members of the campaign posed for journalists outside a Thornwood Gardens property last Friday. They had an old washing machine with them that was used to wash play money. Joe Powell, co-founder of the movement, points to a modern residential complex there. You won't be surprised if I tell you that many buildings here are empty. The houses, like pictures or a yard, are only facilities that people are not interested in. And these are just 3 of an estimated 6,000 properties whose owners are unknown. A new law to combat white-collar crime, which was debated in the House of Lords last week, is now set to change that. Transparency is to be imposed on offshore companies owning property in the UK. That means it should be clear who exactly owns the property. This is intended to put an end to Putin's mob of oligarchs and kleptocrats, how Interior Minister Priti Patel put it last week. Powell welcomed the draft but stressed that it has many loopholes. The government must ensure that the information is actually correct, stressed Rachel Davies of Transparency International, a non-governmental organization that fights against corruption. Because currently you can start a company under a false name. Nobody checks whether this is actually correct, she says. From the point of view of many residents of Kensington, however, many of the measures now imposed come far too late. Especially during the pandemic, we noticed how many houses had no lights on in the evening, says 23-year-old Sam Dokshin to the editorial network in Germany. Because fewer and fewer people live in the district, restaurants and cafes have had to close. In the past, they would have lived here more like in a village than as a community, he recalls. It breaks my heart to see that this one is dying now, he says. And it would be really a bad thing to hear that. And I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.